Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu wa jannatuhu. That is, the peace of God be upon you and the mercy of Allah and His blessings and His paradise. I am Imam Siddeeq Jihad here on this Jumu'ah Day, March 28th, 2025, with the intent of delivering a khutbah today, and I've entitled it, Proclaim. The people will come in crowds to this way of life, inshallah, inshallah. So, I'd like to begin by reciting what is known as the adhan. The adhan. And the adhan is said before every prayer, inshallah. So I'd just like to know if you're hearing me up there. Are you all hearing me? Well, let me continue here with the assumption that I'm being heard. And God willing, I am, being heard. Okay. I got the okay that I'm being heard, because there's been times that we have had problems with the transmission here. For some reason, this board is not moving like I would like for it to move right now, but be patient with me. You can hear me? Okay, good. Okay, I call the adhan now. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Translated, for those who may not know the translation of what I just uttered, I said that God is greater. I didn't say God is the greatest. I said God is greater, meaning anything that you compare with this deity will fall short. So God is greater 4 times, and then I said, I bear witness that there's no deity but the one deity, God alone, twice, and then I said, I bear witness that Muhammad is the servant and messenger of God, twice, and then I said, Hayya ala salah, that is, life is upon prayer. Life is upon worship and devotion to our Creator. I said that twice. Then I said, Hayya al falah. Hayya al falah, twice, meaning life is upon cultivation. Cultivation of what? Cultivation of this physical material world, coupled with the cultivation of our intellect. And if we do those 2 things, we reach a state of falah, success, inshallah. In fact, in the old medieval period of England, they used to call the farmers fellas, and we still use the word fella today. And a fella back in those days was one who was a cultivator of the land, a farmer. So if someone said to you, hey fella, you may not know that it means really a farmer. But anyway, it's not a bad thing to be a farmer for sure. And we know that if we're cultivating, whether it be the physical earth or our intellects, we are indeed, inshallah, going to yield some semblance of success akin to the success after having put seeds in the ground or plants in the ground and awaiting the crop to come. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. So I begin now with the khutbah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. That is, I bear witness there's no deity but the one deity, God alone, and there's none like unto him, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I begin by reciting from the surah entitled Al-Alaq, that is the clinging substance. We don't like to call it a clot, according to the Imam W.D. Muhammad. I think that's a good idea, because when you say clot, that could be perhaps the beginning of the end of your life. If you get a clot of blood in your lungs or other parts of the body, it could cause problems. So we like to say the clinging substance, the substance of the sperm, it's clinging. When it goes into the woman, it sticks, and then after it gets in there, after having came in contact with the egg, then a clot of blood occurs. Praise be to Allah. And in the Qur-aan itself, Allah is talking about, or I should say revealing, the stages and the sequencing, if you will, of childbirth. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. So continuing here, I read from the Surah 96, verses 1 through 5. While Allah reveals, iQRA bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Proclaim in the name and by the power and essence of your guardian evolver, your Rabb, who created. Praise be to Allah. And if you're listening carefully, I did not say read. I said proclaim. So some years ago, I got to thinking about this verse. In fact, it was before 1992. The reason why I know is because I did a convention lecture, and I guess you could say a seminar there in Atlanta, Georgia, the first one before the national audience. And after having, studied this for some time, I came to know that Yusuf Ali, and I have to pause for a moment because my plug for my computer has come out. So just bear with me a second here. Sorry about that. Okay, we're straight now. Praise be to Allah. Yes, so continuing on, I got to thinking, I say, Abdullah Yusuf, he puts in his translation, proclaim, and then in parentheses, he puts the word read. And so by so doing, he explains in his methodology of translation that the words that I put outside of the parentheses is my attempt at giving you a word-for-word rendering of the Arabic word, and the parentheses is added explanation, if you will, of the words that he is translating from Arabic to English. So, the story has it that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would leave his people and go into a cave called Hira. And they say it was a nice task to get up into this cave. And he went there because of the ignorant life that he saw amongst his people, the savagery, the orgies around the Kaaba, the house that Ibrahim built that was desecrated with idols and so on. In fact, the story has it that they had oatmeal gods, and if they got hungry, they would melt their oatmeal god and eat it, So they were very backward in terms of having lost their way on what is true religion and what God would be pleased with. And so he was in that cave on a night in what we call the month of Ramadan. And the report has it that the angel of revelation, Gabriel or Jabril, squeezed him. And we know that if you're talking about squeezing with hands, you may be going a little bit too far and thinking that it was a human being that was squeezing him. But he was pressed in his psyche, if you will, in his mind, to say, iQRA. And he reportedly said in his own mind's eye, if you will, I cannot iQRA. Again, iQRA. I cannot iQRA. I cannot proclaim. I'm not saying I cannot read, because he learned the Arabic language from the tribe Mudar on the deserts of Arabia. And that was a custom where they would send their young children out into the desert to learn the best of the Arabic. And Prophet Muhammad reportedly said, I am the most eloquent of you who speak the language of the Dawd. The letter Dawd in the word Dawlin, which means to go astray. God forbid we do not want to go astray. So he is being told to proclaim, if you will, and he would say, I don't know what to proclaim. I don't know what to tell these savage people that kill one another in tribal warfare that goes from generation to generation, warring tribes. And if you're out on the deserts of Arabia and you were a long way from the water hole and your enemy tribe had the water hole in their possession, you're subject to die because of the feuding that they were engaged in. So it was a bad situation, to say it lightly. So he was being told to proclaim, and he was saying, I don't know what to proclaim. And then praise be to Allah on that night of destiny. I didn't call it the night of power. Why? I don't call it the night of power. Because of many reasons, but number one, we know that that night was not the first night or the first day that Allah displayed his power. In fact, we say it all of the time, Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. And Allah has power over all things at all times. So this was a night of destiny, a night when all of the procreation that went on prior to the coming of Muhammad culminated in this one man, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, having the right stuff and the right disposition and determination to hold fast to the message of Qur-aan and deliver it to the whole of humanity. That was the night of destiny. And we know that Allah tells us in the Qur-aan, Ar-Rahman Allama al-Qur'an, telling you and I, the merciful benefactor. And the first thing he tells us after that is he taught the Qur'an. That is, Allah did. And then he said, Khalaq al-insan, or he reveals, Khalaq al-insan, and he created the human being that he was grooming the human beings to be. And this Qur'an is the final perfected blueprint for what human life should be. And we thank Allah for such a gift. In fact, we know that that is the greatest gift, along with our intellect, that Allah has given to the whole of this human family. So I'm saying to you, O Muslims, that the very first thing the Prophet was told to do was not to read, but to proclaim. And if you don't buy that, then know that he was in a cave. He was in a cave, and the Quran had not came down to the point where he could write it down. And he didn't have a situation where the sheepskin with the revelation was in front of him and he was being told to read it. Allah revealed this Quran to his mind, and then some say the heart, but we associate the heart and the mind as being pretty much the same thing in my mind. But also the heart has something to do with the al-afidata, the emotions and the feelings. And we know that the morality and the honors, all of that tied in with the heart and the mind coming together as one. Praise be to Allah. So he's told Allah, I don't know what to proclaim. And then Allah revealed, iQRA bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Proclaim in the name of your evolver, the one who evolved you from that tiny sperm drop into a fetus and into a human being coming out of the womb of your mother, Amina. So Allah knew that he had the right stuff before he came out. In fact, we could say, if you really understand things, that Allah foreknew that Muhammad would be in that cave, Hira, in Mecca over 1400 years ago ready to receive the revelation of Qur-aan. So if you understand this word proclaim, you could see how this would be the first revelation that the prophet received. The first verse, and he received 4 other verses in the cave that particular night. But he got the other 14 verses of Surah 96 sometime later. So you should know that Prophet Muhammad was being told as the revelation came where to put this verse, where to put that verse. And we believe that Allah made Muhammad the one who would make sure that it was in the right order. And when you read the Quran and you really read it carefully, you'll see so much coherence that it will really fascinate you and exhilarate you if you begin to look at the Quran from the standpoint of its coherence. And I encourage you to read a book called The Coherence of the Quran by the last name of this professor is Mir, M-I-R. He was a Youngstown University professor that wrote his dissertation on the coherence of the Quran. So let me move on. I see the time is moving. So if you understand this verse, you understand that Allah is telling Muhammad to proclaim by the power and essence of God himself this message that he's about to give him. Then the next verse says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. He created the human being from a clot, a clinging substance, if you will. Better to say a clinging substance as opposed to a clot. But we know that when the sperm and the egg hit, it becomes a clinging substance, and blood is in the inside of that clinging substance. Praise be to Allah. And then we know that from reading what scientists have said, that the head is formed and the shell around the skull is put over the top of that, and you initially are in a real small state, and all you have is your head, and your limbs and other extremities come out later. Praise be to Allah. And not only that, we know that when we come out of the wombs of our mothers, we come out right. We're in a position with our heads down in what we call as Muslims the sajda position, the prostration position that Jesus, alayhi salam, on him be peace, put his forehead to the ground in the Garden of Gethsemane and said, "Oh God, if thou hast prepared this bitter cup of death for me, I'll accept it. But if there's any way for you to turn it away, let it happen." So we know that Jesus himself prayed to Allah and he put his forehead to the ground. And many times you'll see the Pope, when he get off a plane or whatever, he too puts his forehead on the ground. So let me, or on the floor, whatever the case might be. So let me keep moving here. I see the time is really running. So after he indicates that I'm the one who created you from that clinging substance, he reveals to him again, iQRA, proclaim, wa rabbukal akram, proclaim, and your guardian Rabb, your guardian evolver is generous. He's going to give you all that you need to proclaim this message of deliverance for yourself and for the whole of humanity. And certainly we know that the Arabs in those days, they needed this revelation because they were savage. Praise be to Allah. And here in the next ayah, verse 4, says, Alladhi alam bil khalam. It is he who taught, that is Allah, taught the use of the qalam, the column. That's a pencil. A pencil was a column, right? Praise be to Allah. So Allah is letting you and I know that there's something that's going to take place where this book is going to be written down, taught the use of the pen or the writing implement. And we know that they wrote on sheepskin and gazelle skins and whatnot in those days. I don't know if they had contact with papyrus just yet. Paper. Allah knows best on that. And then the fifth of the first ayahs علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. That is, he taught the human family what it did not know. That is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting you know in a direct way what he has done for us as human beings. Praise be to Allah. So let me get into a little numerical facts, some numerical facts. A lot of people don't even like to hear this, but I have to bring it out to you. The 96th surah is the 19th surah from the back of the book. From 114, you go count, you'll see that this is the 96th surah. It's 19 surahs, chapters from the back of the book. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim is 19 letters. Count them. They had Bilal Phillips some years ago tried to argue that it wasn't 19 letters because of the fact that the word ismun means name or essence of something. But we know that in grammatical Arabic, which was known obviously in this context, in this Arabic text here, Allah did not reveal bi-ismi. He took the aleph out and said bismi, bismi. So if you count it up, you'll see there's 19 letters there. Praise be to Allah. Further, what I just mentioned to you, those 5 verses are 19 words. That Surah 96 has 19 verses. So let me move on. Praise be to Allah who has given us these numerical facts. I didn't come up with them, but we know that Allah has taught us mathematics and we can count. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. So, we know that this deen, this way of life, was spreaded by Muhammad, spreaded by those who came after him. And we know that it is the fastest growing way of life in the world. Why so? Because it is the very nature of the human being to submit his or her will to the will of God. Jesus, alayhi salam, reportedly said, "Is on him be peace," reportedly said, "Not my will be done, but your will be done on earth as it is in the peaceful heavens." I'm adding peaceful heavens. You don't see the Mars running into Jupiter and the sun running into the earth. Allah has set it up in a beautiful order of peace and tranquility. We thank Allah for that. So, I see the time is running, 22 minutes I'm in here. I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. I take you now to some verses that are considered to be the last of the verses that Prophet Muhammad received. But before I do that, let me mention to you that we believe, O Muslims and audience, that Al-Fatiha, the verse number 1, chapter number 1, pardon me, was the first chapter that was revealed all in one piece for Muhammad and for those of us who will read it later or read it in the time of Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is, the peace and blessings forever be upon him. So in Surah 5, verse 3, this is a portion thereof. Al-yawma atmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakumul islam dinan. This is my translation. It's different from what you will read in the other translations. Today, I perfected, belonging to you already, your deen, you all's deen, your way of life. Wa atmamtu, and completed on you all my ni'mati, my favor. And then here's the beautiful part. And I pleased you. Allah said, I did the pleasing. And we heard many times people say, radiyallahu anhu, radiyallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with him or be pleased with her. So this is the same word. So here Allah is speaking in the first person. وَرَضِيتُ, and I pleased you. Lakum, belong to you already. Al-Islam, as a way of life. In other words, you and I, we came out of the wombs of our mothers in a state of submission, a tabula rasa, that is the Latin, a clean slate with no sin on us. So you and I should reject, and tell the Christians too, the idea that we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. That is not what Allah created coming out of the wombs of our mothers. When you look in the eyes of a child, you see a heavenly environment, a heavenly peaceful state of the children when they come out, or when I came out, when you came out. So Muslims reject that categorically. No way did God have a sinning baby coming out. The sins came after we came in contact with some of this crazy stuff that we have to encounter in this world. So here we know that this is one of the last verses because of the word El Yawma. El Yawma means not tomorrow, not a day in the future, but today. So we have to acknowledge that this must have been one of the last portions of an ayah, or chapter, if you will, that Allah revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is, the peace and blessing forever be upon him. And now we have another surah that came around the time when he did his farewell pilgrimage. And many will tell you that he only had one Hajj. And it says here in the write-up that I saw, and I will recite the verse first before I go there. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Translated. Bear with me for a moment. And when comes the help of Allah and victory, al-Fathu, and you see the people enter Allah's religion in crowds, Allah commands us to celebrate the praises of thy Lord and pray for his forgiveness, for he is oft returning in grace and mercy. We believe that this was giving Muhammad the idea that you see a crowd, here at the pilgrimage, it's going to be greater crowds if you and the Muslims continue to iQRA, proclaim the message of deliverance to this human family. So we as Muslims, we have to have in our mind's eye that we have an obligation to spread this deen. Allah has told us in the Qur-aan, Ud'u, call the people. It's a command from God to call the people to this way of life. Do not you love for your brother and sister what you love for yourself? Do not you reflect back on how you were in a state of crazy living, and Allah helped grow you out of that and bring you into a state of some sense of honor and integrity and civilization that on a high level, and clean you up from the muck and mire of this society? You have an obligation. We have an obligation to help others come into this way of life. Trump needs help. Elon Musk needs help, but they may not want the help. Some people, we don't know who they are fuel for the fire, as Allah has revealed in the Quran. In fact, we know that a surah entitled Abu Lahab is reported to be a surah that was revealed during the lifetime. I wouldn't say reported. It was revealed during the lifetime of Abu Lahab. And Allah told him that you and your wife will be denizens or residents of the hellfire. Allah knew that this man, he's not going to change. His wife's not going to change. So Allah knows, but we don't know. So it's our obligation to spread this deen, and Allah is the one who opens up the hearts of the people to embrace al-Islam. I came in around 1973. I listened to an album by Elijah Muhammad, and he said on the album, if a man does not treat you right, how is he going to teach you right? Right away, I knew that he had not taught me right, because I know, or knew, and I know now, that he didn't treat us right. So he didn't treat us right, and he certainly must have taught us the wrong religion, the wrong history, the wrong everything. So I went on a journey, a research journey. I went to the rare book room or the libraries and whatnot, and became a student of religion. So I came into al-Islam from research. And this is what you should do too. And the research of what al-Islam is and what truth is should be a lifelong endeavor. We should be Taliban. Taliban, y'all heard that before, right? Taliban is a good word that they turned into a bad word. A Taliban means a student forever. Taliban. You could have just said Talibun. But no, by putting it in what we call the adverbial structure, it's indicating that you are a student forever. Same way with the people who were fighting the Russians and the Americans when they were trying to take Afghanistan. Khalid bin Walid, Osama, he was one who said that we are mujahideen. Mujahideen. That means we are freedom fighters for Allah and his good causes forever. Forever. And that's what you and I should be. Freedom fighters for the cause of Allah forever. So we know that Muhammad passed away sometime about 80 days or so after that last farewell address that he gave. And he addressed the racism and all of that in the speech. And he tried to tell the people that they should hold fast to this way of life that Allah has revealed. And then we know that the scholars, many of them believe that Surah 2 verse 281 was the actual last of the verses that Prophet Muhammad received from Allah via the angel Jibril, the angel of revelation, Gabriel. Praise be to Allah. So I read it now and then go to a break, and then we'll be concluding this, concluding this Khutbah. Verse 281. So if you're following the flow, the first 5 was 96, 1 through 5. On the day of the final revelation, we have a portion of Surah 5, verse 3. El-Yawma, today have I completed my favor on you. You see? And then, as I mentioned to you, the Surah 110 was given in the latter part of Muhammad's life as well. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's interesting to note that this last ayah is really the whole point of the Qur'an itself. One of the main points, I should say, and that is that you and I have a judgment day. And he has given us this Qur'an and this prophethood, Muhammad and all the prophets, as examples of what we should be about. And fear the day, Allah is commanding us, and fear the day, wattaqu, and fear the day when you shall be brought back to Allah. Then shall every soul, kulun nafsin ma kasabat wa hum la yudlamun. Then shall every soul be paid what it earned, and none will be dealt with unjustly. So you should know, as the Bible language say, every tub sits on its own bottom. The Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu alaykum anfusahum. A double attention getter. Ya ayyuha. Your own nafs, your own selves is on yourselves. Again, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu alaykum anfusahum, pardon me. We know also the Qur'an says, on the day of judgment, every soul shall come up struggling for itself. Allah also tells us in the Quran, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةً وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. That is, and no bearer of burdens shall bear the burden of another. And this is contrary to some belief, especially Christian belief, and Muslims too believe that there's going to be some rites of intercession for people that were no good, like somebody going to slip into to heaven that don't belong there, you know? I don't think so. So I believe that we don't have time to talk about it now, but the word in the Ayatul Kursi is talking about no one will intercede and secure any knowledge except what Allah permits. But many think that it's talking about intercession. But if you follow the flow of Ayatul Kursi, you'll see that it's talking about knowledge. You're not going to get any knowledge unless Allah allows you and permits you to get it. Praise be to Allah. But that's another khutbah for another day. So I close with a short dua. Rabbana atmim lana nurana waqfir lana innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. First part of the khutbah, and I pause now. Allahumma nasta'inuka wa nastaghfiruka wa nu'minu bika wa natawakkalu alayka wa nufni alayka wakaya wa nashkuruka wa la nakfuruka. Oh Allah, we ask for your help. We ask for your forgiveness. We believe in you. We trust in you. And we extol and exalt you in the best manner. We're thankful to you, Allah, and we're not of those who are ungrateful. So it comes to my mind, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but there's a verse in the Quran that talks about God preferring this way of life to other ways of life. But it doesn't really mean that he prefers this way of life. It means really that word, I can't even think of it right now, is saying that Allah ordained this way of life for you. As I mentioned earlier in the khutbah, we all come out in a state of submission. So there were no other choices other than submission to his will as our way of life sanctioned and commanded by Allah himself. So don't have the mind that he preferred this way of life. No, he ordained this way of life for us. In fact, I'll close with this particular ayah in 385, I believe it is. So bear with me as I rush to it now. 385. And this is just as plain as day in Arabic and in English. 385, I believe it is. Yes. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Translated, straight statement from Allah himself. If anyone desires a way of life, we translate in deen as a way of life. We don't have to say religion because that term has been corrupted in the English language. How they separate the church from the state and all of that, and how you can do crazy stuff and bomb people and kill people and take drones and blow up people in the non-religious world. But in the religious world, at the church, you shouldn't do that. But no, the life that we learn from the church, from the masjid, the purity of faith and honor and integrity should go into every aspect of our life. So we don't believe in the separation of the church and the state. The church and the state should be one in submission to God himself. So continuing on, if anyone desires a way of life other than al-Islam, submission to Allah, never, Allah says, lan yuqbala, never will it be accepted of him or her, and in the hereafter, he or she will be in the ranks of those who are losers. So you might say, well, what about the good Christians? What about the good people who follow the Torah and follow Moses? He's just saying that they will make it to the Jannah, but they still will leave out some, or will miss out on some of the great blessings of those various levels of heaven if they join partners with Allah or submitted to other than Him as their commanding officer, if you will. So we're saying to you, O Muslims, that a good Christian is a Muslim. A good Jew is a Muslim if they are endeavoring to submit their wills to God and are engaged in practicing righteous deeds and doing things that they know and we know is pleasing to the Lord of all of the worlds. So I say to you, Eid Mubarak coming up on this particular Sunday, March 30th, 2025. And some are arguing about it. We don't know when it's going to be. Well, Allah has put the moon in a orbit as the sun is in an orbit, as the earth is in an orbit. And we know when that first sliver of light will begin to appear for the next month. So if you want to stay in the dark ages and think that you have to get up in an airplane and see the crescent for yourself, as Bobby Brown said, that's your prerogative, you know. It's not mine, though. It's not my prerogative. I follow what Allah says in the Qur-aan. And He says to us, Ash-shamsu wal-qamaru bi-husban. And the sun and the moon are with arithmetic, mathematics. And we know how fast the moon is going, how fast the sun is going, how fast the earth is going. Look it up. It's there for your consumption. So I say again, Eid Mubarak. I didn't say Eid. It's an ayn there. So that's why I'm making a strong emphasis. Eid Mubarak. A blessed recurring happiness is what I'm asking Allah grant unto all of us who have made the grade during the month of Ramadan, the month that the Qur'an was revealed to the whole of the human family. So I call what is known as the iqama, but prior to doing that, I make a short dua. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahma innaka antal wahhab. Our Lord, cause not our hearts to swerve and deviate after you have guided us aright, but bestow upon us mercy from your presence, for surely you are the grandest of the givers. Ameen. Iqama. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Qad qamatis salah. Qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. It's 2 rak'ah. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ أَلَا تَطْغَوْا فِي الْمِيزَانِ وَأَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ وَلَا تُخْسِرُوا الْمِيزَانَ وَأَرْضًا وَضَعَهَا لِلْأَنْعَامِ فِيهَا فَاكِهَةٌ وَالنَّخْلُ ذَاتُ الْأَكْمَامِ وَالْحَبُّ ذُو الْعَصْفِ وَالرَّيْحَانُ فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ ربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. ربي هب لي حكما وهب لي بالصالحين واجعل لي لسان صدق في الآخرين واجعل لي من ورثات جنة النعيم واغفر لي أبي أنه كان من الضالين وَلَا تُتْلِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Our Lord, bestow upon us wisdom, unite us with the righteous, grant us honorable mention on the tongue of truth among the latest of the generations. Make us inheritors of the garden of bliss and joy, and forgive our forefathers if any of them were astray, and do not let us be in disgrace and humiliation on the day that we are raised for the final judgment. Amen. Excuse that noise. One other thing I just want to mention, since it's on my mind, we have two of the attributes of Allah, because there's many attributes of Allah other than the 99. But Ar-Rahman appears in the glorious Qur-aan and Majid, 57 times. And Ar-Rahim appears in the Quran, double that, 114 times. So here it is, Allah is telling you and I, He is the one to give all of these benefits to the creation 57 times. And if you and I don't appreciate it, He's exhibiting double mercy. 114 times Ar-Rahim is in the Qur-an. Praise be to Allah. So indulge me for a moment to tell you, if you're not familiar with it, about my book entitled The Language of Revelation, Lugatut Tanzil, Quranic Arabic Instruction, with exercise and Qur'an commentary. If you notice on the bottom of the book here, I have a part of verse 15 of chapter 5. قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. No doubt has come to you all from Allah a light and a perspicuous, plain book. Allah is letting you know that when you understand the rudiments of this language, the foundation of this language, you will be able to understand it for yourself. And He tells us in the Quran that He does the teaching of this Quran. And you heard me now when I said Surah Ar-Rahman. Allama al-Quran. He teaches the Quran, and He does it redundantly over and over again in an intense way throughout time. So I'm saying to you, don't depend upon others to teach you. Learn the language, and then Allah will teach you the Quran Himself. So if you're interested in this book, I encourage you to secure it. You can go to my email, Siddeeq@msn.com, and you can leave your name and number, and I can give you a call, and we can do a transaction over the phone for this book. So, inshallah, you will secure it, and if you're not interested in learning the language, perhaps you can find some younger people, if you're an older person, that may be interested, and keep it in their eye, so to speak, where they may pick it up and become students of this glorious Quran. Because we need it. It's very important to understand the Quran for ourselves. The masses must understand this book for themselves so they can get the maximum utility out of it. And also I have, thought I had it on the other side, The Muslim Prayer Made Easy. This is a book that will help you learn the prayer in Arabic. And I have it broken down in pure phonetics, English phonetics, to help you. And if you followed the script that I have in the book along with the MP3 files that I could send you, I think you would be served in terms of pronouncing Al-Fatiha correctly and some of the other parts of the prayer. Praise be to Allah. There's many who say that they know Al-Fatiha and they have said it incorrectly for years. So we have it all on the internet, all of the Surah of Qur'an. So if you are going to recite Qur'an, listen to those who know how to recite it and mimic them until you get to the point where you can read the Arabic text for yourself. We have no excuse today. We have no excuse. And so I say that in the spirit of knowing that on Facebook daily, you have people who get on and make themselves objects of laughter because of their foul pronunciation and lack of knowledge of basic stuff. And we don't want that for the African American community or any community. So I encourage you to be a Taliban, a student forever of Quran. So with that, I close and I say to you, Jumu'ah Mubarakah wa Ramadan Mubarak wa Eid Mubarak, coming up on March 30th, inshallah, 2025. La yazalullahu muksinan ilaykum. That is, may God never stop being a good doer, an excellent doer to you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu wa jannatuhu. That is, the peace of God be upon you and the mercy of God and His blessings and His paradise on this side and on the life to come. Signing off, Siddeeq Jihad. And I have a YouTube channel, Siddeeq Jihad at Siddeeq Jihad. That's SIDDEEQ Jihad, JIHAD, at Siddeeq Jihad. So go into the search box of YouTube and put that in, and I have numerous lectures there, and also some presentations from a PowerPoint presentation, and also an overhead projector presentation I gave some years ago. So I'd encourage you to subscribe, if you will, to my channel, but you have to have a Gmail account, and it's easy to set up if you don't have one. So you can have a Gmail account, or Hotmail account, other accounts. So I encourage you to do that. So with that, again, I say to you, Ramadan Mubarak, or Eid Mubarak, and I mentioned earlier, Jumu'ah Mubarakat. Why did not I say Jumu'ah Mubarak? Because Jumu'ah is a feminine ending on it, a feminine T on the end. And so it has to have a feminine T on the word Mubarak. So that's why I said Jumu'ah Mubarakat. And I can be more precise, but we always cut off the un sounds at the end of words when we pronounce it. But I could say to you, Jumu'atun, the tun, Mubarakatun. Signing off.